All right. Hello and welcome to the Spacejumper Podcast. My name is Jared and I am your host. Today we have a very special guest in the house, Mr. Romeo, or Coach Romeo, I should say. This man, he has made a legacy for himself on Instagram with almost 400,000 followers. Sir, that is impressive.
Thank you.
You've definitely been putting in the work, and my first thought would be, how does this man get 400,000 followers on Instagram? And then I go to your content and I'm like, this dude is swole.
Yeah, you probably can't tell because I have a shirt on.
No,
right?
No, it's obvious, brother. Like, don't look if they're looking at the camera. Don't look at me, man. You're gonna see that I need to do some sit-ups. But no, seriously, what you're doing is really impressive. You're a health practitioner, and you're kind of teaching this men's sexual health and things like that, and things that aren't really spoken about.
Yeah.
So first off, thank you for coming and doing this. So let's go ahead and get it going, and why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do?
All right. So a little bit about myself. My name is Romeo, as you all know, and I'm a holistic health practitioner. And now I started as a personal trainer. So I started training individuals, men, women in the gym to lose weight, right? We live in the economy where if you're overweight, right, people treat you bad, which I don't agree with, right? Especially for the fact that most Americans are overweight or some are obese. You would think that, we'll get to a point where we're more inclusive or more accepting, but most people don't lose weight because they care about losing weight. Most people lose weight because they care about the perception of others. So personally, the first thing I would advise my clients is, if you're doing this for people to think different about you, it's in futility, meaning you're going to waste your time, because no matter how people think about you, people are always going to have an opinion. Right. So if you're losing weight because of a public perception, you're still going to be dissatisfied inside. So you have to have more concrete reasons why, beyond just the perception. That's my ethos as a trainer. Right. So I started training. I got a few amount of clients, some good clients, and I enjoyed training, but I came across a similar problem in the gym. So many guys kept on asking me, because you would see me with a girl today, you would see me with a different woman tomorrow, right? And I'm not a Dan Brazilian by any stretch of the imagination, but we're in Houston. Let's just put it that way, right? So I'll have some clients. As a trainer, the one thing you realize is you become a dating coach. Your male clients ask you about women. Your female clients tell you to give the opinion about men. So I found myself being more of a dating coach than a trainer. So I naturally gravitated to my position now. Now, a lot of women will ask me about men and the situations they're in, and a lot of men will ask me about, hey, how do you do this? How do you do that? And in the process of training, I found out a huge issue. Most guys don't really care about weight. Most guys care about women, so they lose weight to be more attractive, right? Right. Now, when you understand why, you do realize, like, okay, if there's a guy who's overweight, instead of losing weight, you could just go straight, make money, and you could have any kind of woman you want. You could have all that. There's no point in losing weight if weight is not something you really care about. Just get what you want directly. So if you look at the fitness industry now, and that's why you realize, like, now in the fitness industry, it's not really about fitness. It's more about the perception. So you have a lot of people taking steroids. You have a lot of women on BBLs, lip fillers, all that. Right. Because fitness has never really been about fitness. Fitness has been about attention. Fitness has been about validation. That's the foundation of what fitness is. And very few people actually do fitness for the sake of being fit. So this is the main thing I realized. So this is something I always make my clients, I talk to my clients about this before we begin any kind of session. This is what you expect. And I hope this is what you want from this interaction, because I can actually help you with that. Tell me what your real goals are. Don't tell me you want to lose weight. Tell me you want to get women, so I can actually help you with that. Right. Skip all this painful phase. So I went to one of the biggest gyms in Houston. I went to Athlete, the best of the best. And fortunately enough, I look good enough to be with the best. And I realized the best have this problem. A lot of men are dissatisfied in their emotional life. A lot of men are dissatisfied with their relationships. And a lot of men feel empty inside. And if you go to Instagram, whenever somebody has broken up with a girlfriend, what do they tell you? Oh, go to the gym. It's never go to therapy. It's never go to church. It's always go to the gym, because we take physicality to be a solution for everything. You're sad, go to the gym. Your girl just left you, go to the gym, right? So we kind of misuse the gym. So my goal was to actually help people where they needed help best and not deal with all the BS which they gave me. Just let's get to the point, right? So that's how I decided to, become fitness virgins, right? It was just fitness.
Right.
Now it was fitness virgins. My name actually came from training people who were new to the gym. When somebody's new, they're considered a virgin in the gym, right? So that's how I got the fitness virgins from. But naturally, when I evolved as a trainer and I realized the actual needs of my clientele, the name just matched perfectly, and I got to where I got to.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool. And scrolling your profile, I mean, it fits so well, because, and like I said, you're covering information that most people don't cover, and
most people are scared, intimidated to cover. Yeah.
Exactly. And I will say it's some tough content to cover.
It is.
But you hit it right on the head. I mean, it's perfect,
It is. I have, and this is something which we talk about men's health. We talk about, especially June is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. And most men I've spoken to are struggling deeply. They're in deep pain. Most men just want to be accepted. Most men want to feel like somebody cares about them. So these issues which they have are unaddressed because they don't have a medium to speak to. A lot of guys will reach out to me in my DMs with a fake account and say, hey, this is a fake account. I'm so embarrassed to even come to you with my real account, but I have this problem. I need this help. I need help from you. I need this. And my DMs, sometimes when I open them, I get extremely emotional because the things which I see men go through, how can you not become a men's advocate? I had no choice but to pursue this, because I felt genuinely like it's something which a lot of men not just want but need. And for the amateur viewers, when they come to my profile, they're like, oh, what is this? And they leave. But if you actually look at how society works, you realize the porn industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry, right? The sex industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And the sex OnlyFans models are driving Lambos, Bentleys. What do you think these men are paying for? You think these men are paying for some pee? No. They're paying for the validation. They're paying for intimacy. That's what men pay for when they go to OnlyFans. They pay to feel, and there's something called the GFE, the girlfriend experience, where you pay for a girl to call your name every morning and to make you feel wanted. So that's what men want. They want the validation. They want that intimacy, not sex. Sex too, of course.
Yeah.
But the intimacy is what makes these models drive those Bentleys and Lambos. So this is what a lot of guys tell me in my DMs. And this is why I had a strong conviction to keep doing what I'm doing, even though some people might not like it.
Right. Well, if they don't like it, that's their own fault. I love what you're doing, and I think that you're making making great headway in that field. And you're able to help people that reach out to you and communicate with people that may really need that assistance. And what kind of things are they reaching out to you about in your DMs and stuff?
So the first thing is ED, so erectile dysfunction and premature ejaculation, the main things which every guy's fear. And it doesn't matter who the man is, the president to a resident, every man has a fear, a fear of being inadequate in the bedroom. I think that's something which all men share. We all share that. You have a woman you've been thinking about and you finally get that opportunity, that experience, and you fail to perform. That's every man's worst nightmare. So that's the first and main thing which most men come to me for. And men have multiple ranges of reasons why they have that, from being anxious to maybe having a sedentary lifestyle to just simply feeling inadequate. And fortunate for them, I do have the solutions to their issues for the most part.
Cunnilingus, baby.
Oh yeah. I keep telling. And I'll get to that in a second,
Sure.
Right? I wish. Do you have a pen?
Yeah,
Can I write this down, because I don't want to miss. Let me write this down. Okay, perfect.
Proactive. I like it.
Right. I'm gonna keep this so you can still have access to your notes.
Sure.
You can ask some. Here you go. But yes, the next thing which most men come to me about is about dating. Now, I'm fortunate enough to have been all over the world, not all over, but enough places. I've dated a few times in my life, quite a few. I've been with a lot of women, right? I don't know how to say this with a straight face, but I have some experience dating.
Right.
And I actually have a separate channel, which I will go on the street and do street interviews. I ask people dating questions which everybody wanted to know. So the next thing which most guys come to me about is about dating. Hey, I'm trying to get this girl. What do I do? I'm trying to do this. How do I play it? I'm trying to have sex on the first day. What do I do? You know, questions which they want to ask, but
Right.
nobody wants to give them an answer.
Right. Wow. Well, you know, it's a very in-depth process, you know, as far as communicating with these women, you know, and trying to I guess achieve the best results that you can, you know,
Yeah.
and you know, the physical aspect of that is definitely a concern, you know, but along with that physical, but there's also that mental aspect too. So
100%.
So yeah, I think that kind of asking these people what their biggest problems are and what their biggest obstacles are when, you know, trying to pursue whatever ththey're pursuing, you know. So I think that's fantastic. And you were telling me that you had, you know, a separate account. That I didn't know that. I should have. I didn't catch that on my research earlier.
Yes.
But.
So I do have an account where I go to the streets. This was back in the days. I don't do it anymore because I'm just so busy now.
Right. Yeah.
Because I actually love talking to people and talking to real people.
And you're good at talking, though. It's obvious. You know, you could tell if somebody's good at talking in a split second.
I've used my mouth to get me into many doors. You know, your mouth is how you express yourself. Your mouth is one of the most important things in you. It connects the brain to the other person's brain. The mouth is a very, very powerful tool, which I feel most people can be better at it.
Right.
So I'm a learner. I love learning from people. A lot of people have a very different perspectives, which I'd love to pick from and modify my life on, because let's be honest, you don't know everything. And to the day you die, you'll never know everything. So talking with people, interacting with people with different experiences, different backgrounds, help give you a perspective which is unique and which can change your situation. You know, they say information changes situations. So I would go to the streets and I would, back then with my girlfriend at the time, she would hold a camera for me and I would ask the most crazy questions, right? I actually had a few viral videos from that where I asked somebody like, hey, where does a guy have to pay for a date, right? How can a guy get sex on the first date? You know, just questions like that to open a dialogue, which we're kind of scared to open.
Right.
And that's how I got into this field more concretely.
Amazing. Yeah, and another thing that I liked about your account is the aspect of, you know, not necessarily supplements, but these natural ingredients that you could add to your food that increase different aspects of your life, whether it's your testosterone levels, whether it's, you know, ED or things like that. So, you know, I think that not only, you know, do you like to learn, but you're also providing this learning aspect in the field that you're in, which is awesome.
Yeah, I love giving people value. And I would say this, I have different tiers in my account for information. So if you want to come and you just want to window shop, you can get an abundant amount of value from what I get. You get free resources, you get foods which you can make for nothing. I mean, let's be honest, we're in a recession, and I'm not going to expect everybody to pay $100 for my program, right? But I want everybody to get a solution to the issue, because my thing has never been to make money, even though you need money to survive.
Sure.
But to give people enough information where they can change their situations. I think to me that's the ethos of my campaign. That's the ethos of my page, of who I am as a person as well. So I'm providing value for everybody, from people who can't afford anything at all to people who can play the high ticket items.
Wow. And so what other levels do you have? I know I saw that you offered a Patreon account. You had different things on that.
I have a Patreon account for people who have more questions which they would never even ask their dads. Right? Somebody would ask me, hey, how do I get a threesome? Now, if you ask anybody how to get a threesome, they look at you like a weirdo.
Hold on, how do you? I need
Right?
to know some of this.
Right? How to get a threesome? How to stop masturbating? Now, when you tell someone about masturbating, they tell you about, oh, it's bad for you. It's this. But I approach it like a human. Look, masturbation has some benefits. All right. If you masturbate, you probably save yourself thousands of dollars. Okay. you understand?
Yeah. Honestly. Yeah.
Right. The money you spend pursuing women which has no return for you, the money you spend in the club, the time you spend pursuing all that, you might have to just, wank a little one out and relax.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So let's be honest. I put the human side to sex. I'm I want to demystify sex. Sex is something which has been since the civilization started. We've fought wars over it. Why are we still acting like kids?
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Hey. Yeah, I think that's a very touchy topic for most people because they don't know how to present questions. You know, they don't know how to ask these things. They don't know how to seek information that they are desiring.
Yeah.
You know, because it's one of those things where, you know, it may be an embarrassment or things.
It is.
You know, and so, yeah, I think that's an amazing thing that you offer this kind of almost like secret service, you know?
So the first thing which I like to tell a lot of guys, and that's why I have a community, I tell a lot of guys, it's not as weird as you think it is, right? And every difficult conversation has to be said. You know, this is why we are where we are today, especially as this nation, as a great nation.
Right.
We had a conversation about race. We had a conversation about gender. We had a conversation about so many difficult things which we have. Now, this is the next conversation which we need to have to make this more safe for the community, because when people have answers and they don't have a legitimate source to get their answers from, when people have questions and don't have a legitimate source to get their answers from, they get their answers through dubious means. Yes. So when you demystify things, when you actually shine a light on them, things get better. You can see with like the legalization of marijuana. You can see with the female rights movement, the civil rights movement. Everything which we held secret, when you put a light on it, it actually becomes better for the community.
Yeah, I think when everybody comes together and forms like unity, you know, that's
100%.
That's when we could make progress, and that's when we could, you know, that's when we could take steps forward,
Yeah.
rather than being stagnant or stepping backwards, you know. So yeah, man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
What you know, so in a sense of you know, somebody reaches out, how do you approach these questions? Like, for example, do you jack off too much, or am I having too much sex, or things like that? I mean,
So in terms of masturbation, which most men tend to quote unquote struggle with, I like to once again break it down to what it is, right? Firstly, why do you do it? Right? Now, maybe you might be attracted to a certain type of woman and you're trying to get that woman in the interim while you work on your goals. Then when you eventually get her back, you can now be with that woman which you want. Because I highly doubt that if any man was given the woman of his dreams, he would still do that.
right.
So let's call it what it is. It's a substitute for what you want in the interim while working on what you really want down the line, right? So we get to the bottom of what the issue is and why you do it. We attack the problem from that angle, and I give you a solution. For some people, for example, for them to stop masturbating as frequently, they might need to work more. For them to stop masturbating as frequently, they might need to be more courageous and get over their anxiety of speaking to people in public. So the fear of approach might manifest itself as masturbation, right? The fear of rejection might manifest itself as masturbation. You're scared to get rejected by expressing your feelings to a woman, so you just, you know, masturbate instead, right? So it's actually a mental issue, which it manifests itself as a physical issue.
Right. Yeah. And by when you said mental issue, I could probably side with that, because I mean, it's almost like pleasure at, you know, on demand.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and you know, I think I watched a Black Mirror episode or something. I'm not too sure, but you know, they're receiving pleasure by just the click of a button, you know, and so it's just they just keep freaking smashing that button, and you know, they're pleasured all the time. But you know, there's definitely a mental aspect of that. You know, whether it could be a you know, used as a distraction for your
yes.
life, or you know, like you said, kind of setting goals to, you know, essentially achieve in a sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely a weird thing. Weird thing, us humans, you know.
Yeah. I mean, humans are pretty weird. We have many other weird characteristics about us. So this is not as bad as it. Especially when you see the amount of people who do it. It's not that weird.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. It's like a hush hush thing, but
Oh yeah.
but
Oh yeah.
it's almost the whole population, you know.
Exactly.
And so that's, I guess, I don't know. I guess people, it's not weird unless you make it weird, and most people seem to make it weird, you know. So
Yeah.
how did you learn all this stuff? Because I mean, it's a pretty, you know, obviously you're a very brilliant person, and
Thank
you
you.
obviously catch on to processes and kind of the components that all go into what you do. So how do you prepare for questions like that or trainings like you do?
So I'm an expert in humanity. That's the foundation for my life as a whole. Okay, let's break down a little bit more about me, which I wasn't quite expressive in the beginning.
Yeah, no worries.
I'm really focused on the main things in life, which is wealth, health, and happiness. And beneath those three things, what holds those together is self-awareness. Meaning, okay, if I want to be healthy and I know I love eating McDonald's at 11 p.m., I have to have the grace to know, okay, maybe I might need to sleep at 10. So you need to know yourself in order to achieve those three things which everyone wants. That's where everything starts. So I start by thinking about myself. What do I want? I want to make a lot of money, right? I want to be wealthy. I want to be healthy as much as I can, and true health. No steroids, because it defeats the point,
right.
Defeats the purpose. And I want to be happy, meaning in terms of my relationship life, I want to have quality friends. Like we mentioned Oscar,
right.
A quality friend to my life, which has been one of the best people I've ever met, right? I want to have great friends and I want to have great relationships. And I've always been in situations where I've noticed people being frauds, meaning people are being in a relationship where they're not truly happy, but they're a little afraid to go chase their happiness, right? I've been in a place where people are not making enough money in a job, but they don't want to take the necessary sacrifice it takes to get maybe a higher education, maybe put themselves in an uncomfortable position and actually get a better job, right? I've been in many situations which has made me think about my life as a human. What will I do if I'm in this situation? So as an expert human, I have the answers to many of these questions because these are things which I've dealt with as well. I've been broke, right? I've been in bad relationships. I've been single, chronically single too, right? So I've been in unfulfilling relationships. So I can kind of tell you not just expert advice, but human advice as well.
Right. I think that's necessary, and that's how you become successful in what you do, and that's how you've made it this far.
Also, I did study biochemistry with a minor in molecular biology at Houston Christian University. So
see,
I have some.
We're opposite.
Oh yeah.
I have my minor in chemistry.
Oh really?
And my degree in molecular.
Oh man, I absolutely hated it. Yeah. Every day was a pain.
Wasn't it terrible?
Oh my goodness. In hindsight, I should have done kines or something. But
well, I think. How the heck did you get so beefed up? By the way,
so firstly, I'm black. Yeah. Okay. I mean, come on. It's kind of like let's be honest now. Secondly, I have almost obsessive discipline when it comes to my body. And firstly, I don't like being jacked. Let's be honest here, because I can't lotion my back. I need a little stick. All right.
Hey man, I need a little stick too, but it's not because I'm beefed up.
But I think when you realize how important being fit is, you have no choice but to take it more seriously.
Right. Yeah.
And I would say there's something called the halo effect. And I was talking about this to a client yesterday. The halo effect, meaning when people see you, the first few seconds, they attribute positive or negative attributes to you. So if somebody sees you and you're 6 foot, you're jacked, you're like, oh my God, this person he's responsible, he's an honest person, you know what, I'm gonna give you this job. Right. But if somebody sees you, you're overweight, right? Maybe you're driving sloppy.
Yeah.
You might be a millionaire. I mean, most millionaires dress however.
Right.
But people attribute those things to you, and your life gets harder, not due to you, but due to people. So you almost have to have like your representative being your own flesh, speaking for you before it speaks for itself. That way your life is a little bit easier. In terms of dating, it's a little bit easier. In terms of getting jobs, it's a little bit easier, because people are shallow. Let's be honest now. People are shallow, and people online will say, oh, they're shallow, but you yourself, you're shallow. Why do we like dogs as pets? Because dogs are cute. Why don't we like rats? I mean, a rat is kind of like a cat without whiskers.
Right.
Let's be honest. Everything we do in life there's so much emphasis on our eyes. Our eyes has let us develop our civilization to this certain point where if you're not complicit with visually pleasing things or personas, you're almost losing in life. So you need to be honest with yourself about what kind of image are you portraying out there. What are you telling people about yourself? And I'm not saying physical fitness is the end and be all about a positive representation for yourself. I mean, as you can tell, I mean, you have a nice shirt on. You don't have stains on your shirt. You don't have to be in shape to have a positive representation.
Right.
But it definitely makes your case easier.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. And back to the physical well-being of your body. That's important, and not even from a visual aspect, but from a physical aspect. All you have is this body. And as soon as stuff starts giving out, it starts giving out. I mean, you start having health problems of any extent.
Yeah.
And that's no good. You start to realize that how appreciative you should have been with a fully mobile and stable body that's running on all 8 cylinders, So I think that it's very important, and I completely agree with the fact that you go out, like for instance, you go out and people are shallow. If you look like a slob and you're not well kept and you just look visually unpresentable. People you may be walking in the grocery store and people pulling their baskets out in front of you because it's like, look at this guy, rather than, you pull up, wearing something nice, you look good. Yeah. People respect that, because it is true. They do see that and they're like, oh, this guy or this girl are very adamant about their health and their well-being. And they do have that ability to I guess, limit themselves because, we're in a world of where there's food on every corner. True. Sugar is just caked in everything that we eat, so there's definitely that aspect.
I would say, to add more to your point, which I'm totally in accordance with, I would say if you understand the idea of the society we're in, we also have so many things which demand our attention at every moment. So it's almost impossible to get to know everybody you're with. You almost have to have a quick assessment of everything you see. Okay, this bottle, is the water good? All right, it's blue. Okay, I like it. Right. This person, right. Right? Because we have so many distractions, so social media is going on. We have TikTok, which has taught us how to swipe quick. It's difficult to actually pay proper attention. So you have to think yourself as a TikTok slide. Somebody has 0.3 seconds to see you, and if they don't like you, the swipe up. Right? It's the way our brains have developed. So it's not really about being shallow. It's about it's a neurocognitive issue which we have as humans. We can't pay long attention. It's just how we are now.
Yeah, isn't that something? And times are changing still. I don't know where we're moving in the future, but yeah, it seems to be like this very low timing of focus and things like that. So I completely agree with you. And it's pages like yours though that do allow that quick swipe, but also awareness and education on health and well-being and how to be a better person. You know?
Being able to give such a huge amount of information in a concise amount of time is a skill which this is where pages like mine would do better than, let's say, a page from let's say some dietitians who actually have the same amount of information like me, who are fully credentialed, but they don't have the ability to give it to the lay person, because it doesn't matter how beautiful you are as a woman. If you're a beautiful woman and you never go to the streets, you'll never get a date.
Right.
Let's be honest, right? So you have to put yourself out there in a way which people can easily consume as well. So that's why my videos, I tailor it in a certain way, which my videos have a powerful hook, they have a good body, and they have a good conclusion. So even if your attention is short, you can still get maximum value from my videos.
So the movements that you are doing and that you're teaching people, like the Kegel, you do the Kegel challenge and things like that. What kind of results have you had people reach out to you with?
So my program has sold over, and I almost want to say the number which I sold because I don't want people, checking my pockets. But I've had hundreds of sales on that program by itself, and that is my highest ticket items. That my program goes for almost $90. Wow! And every day I have people telling me positive things, and this is not something, Kegels is not something which I invented. This has been around for a long time by Dr. Kegel, who invented this to strengthen your pelvic floor muscles. This Kegels have honestly changed a lot of lives. I have a lot of people in my DMs thanking me every day. I have a couple people who have just donated extra to as a way of saying thanks, right? I have relationships which have been fixed, right? Because people grossly underestimate the impact which good sex has on a relationship, especially when it comes to longevity.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. So this is something which has been tried and true, has numerous publications. So it's not some BS which I just put out of thin air. It 100% works and it's legitimate.
So what is a Kegel?
So a Kegel is a pelvic floor exercise. It's a pelvic floor exercise. It's a movement which is aimed at strengthening your pelvic floor. So you have good pelvic floor muscles, strong pelvic floor muscles, so you can have more intense orgasm, you can last longer, you can have just more passionate and intimate sex.
Wow. Well, I need to start incorporating this in my.
Oh yeah, and the good thing about Kegels is that you can do them everywhere. Now, in my program, I also have some different moves aside from Kegels, moves which you can implement into the bedroom and make your sexual life better. Because unfortunately, most people in general never really get sex training. I don't know how else to put it.
Yeah.
Except through porn. And let's be honest, porn is not always a great representation of what sex is or what it should be like, right? Porn is very focused on self-satisfaction, self-gratification, and it doesn't really go into pleasing your partner appropriately. Unless you start going and finding niches, which is hard to find. Usually you just get porn which is just aimed at just making sure your dopamine just blasts everywhere and you're content. Right, so I have certain moves which help you get to where you want to get to in terms of connectivity to your partner, which is the main purpose of sex. Sex is really meant to bring that inclusivity between you and your partner, have that connection stronger.
Sure. Yeah, and I think that if a lot of people, everybody could incorporate that in.
100%, 100%.
And in, like you said, you could do it anywhere.
Oh yeah.
And I think that that's a lot of people's concerns, because they don't, they're at the gym, they're just, doing some
I mean, let's be honest. You've probably done worse things at the gym, more embarrassing things, right?
Yeah.
The main thing people are kind of worried about is being embarrassed, not really about executing the movements, right? And that's why, like I said, you can do this at the comfort of your own home. Which you do crazy things in your home anyways. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. Yes, let's be honest. So why not just try this at home? And if you don't like them, you don't like them. You move on. And if it works, to be successful, you always have to be willing to try new things. Always have to be open to the idea that what you know is insufficient to take you to where you want to get to.
Right. So what other movements do you have in your program? And are you targeting anything else? Any other regions besides the pelvic region, and what kind of effects does that have in sex?
So my program is mainly focused on, and this particular Kegel program is focused on executing Kegel movements appropriately and functionally. I also have reverse Kegels, so you don't get an overly tight pelvic floor. And Kegels also help with urinary incontinence. So you've probably seen a video of a girl squatting in the gym, and when she goes all the way down and she braces, she pees everywhere, right? Kegels solve that issue for you, right? So Kegels is not mainly a sexual thing. It has very huge pathophysical benefits as well, right? So that's why I push Kegels. It's not simply for sex, even though that's what I advertise it as, because that's what the consumer really cares about.
Sure.
It has many other benefits. Like I said, it strengthens your bladder. It strengthens everything, all the muscles in your pelvic floor region, and it makes your sex is just way more amazing when you incorporate this. And the beauty about them is you don't have to do it as often as you need to do bicep curls to get good biceps.
Right. Yeah, and I think that a lot of people go through the day and they don't use those muscles. So even just a little bit of work in them
is going to take you to a whole nother level.
Right.
Honestly. Yeah.
Wow. Well, what about any personal experiences that kind of led to you approaching this sexual health?
So I would say, firstly, and I hate to say this as a guy, but most guys are bad at sex. Now, don't ask me how I know. I haven't been in your window checking you out while you do your thing, right? But most guys are, and by it, I mean, from women's perspective, firstly, I don't know the exact numbers. It's like, 70% of women, 80% of women have never had an orgasm before.
Crazy.
Right? Yeah. I can't imagine my life I can't imagine a life like that if I was a man,
Right.
It is tough. And
especially like a full lifetime partner.
Oh my goodness, man. Oh my goodness. Most women are sexually dissatisfied in relationships. And most relationships end due to two reasons. Firstly, financial delinquency, meaning you get broke.
Right.
And sexual dissatisfaction, meaning you can't make your woman come. Right. And the thing about sex with woman is so different because in the beginning of the relationship, sex is different from what it is towards the middle. Right. So you have to kind of know how to change with how long and all that. You know, there's so many nuance to it. And nobody really tells you like, okay, when you start, this is how you have sex. After a year, this is how you can keep spicing things up. Most men have this issue and I had this issue too, where you just get up one day and like, you know what, I'm tired of this woman, man. I'm tired. Right. Every day we're doing missionary. Every day we're doing the same thing. You know, I'm just going to cheat. Right? Mm-hmm. I'm just going to cheat because cheating is easier than telling your girl like, hey, you know what? I want you to, do this instead. You right? So firstly, women cheat just as much as men do. Right? And men have a misconception that women cheat because they're emotionally vulnerable or many women just like sex. Right? So could we stop lying to ourselves, right? Because whenever a woman cheats, a man can kind of pat himself on the back and say, you know what, it's because, I wasn't doing something right. No, it might simply become because you're not hitting it right.
Yeah, right. Hey, I think that
right.
I completely agree. And I've been in situations like that before too. Not me specifically, but it's, I have an encounter with somebody and they're like, whoa. That has never happened to me before.
And you don't need to have a six-pack to, as a matter of fact, sometimes that is actually in the way because a lot of times you find yourself admiring your own self more than your partner.
Right.
Right? And let's cut the BS out. And I would say this is an issue which affects everybody. I don't care if you're a pastor. I don't care if you're a Satanist. Right. We all have this issue. So this is not a simple issue for, let's say, freaks somewhere or for black guys. We all go through this issue when it comes to sexual satisfaction, right? Now, on my Patreon, I talk about foreplay, how to properly do foreplay, why foreplay is important, and the most important thing about foreplay is foreplay doesn't start in the bedroom. Foreplay starts outside. Foreplay might start a month before.
Yeah.
Right?
Like emotionally.
Emotionally, yes, emotionally. So having that build up to sex being like the finale. That's how I kind of approach this whole process. And talking about this in a healthy way, which is easily consumable by the average person, right? Because it's difficult to conceptualize the idea of having foreplay a week before, 2 weeks before, right? And I break down foreplay, I break down what it is, I break down how to properly, how important touch is, how important, giving the look, all those little nuances to sex, which most people kind of gloss over. I have an in-depth breakdown to this.
Wow. Hey, I'm just saying, you got a customer here, man. Hey, if there's something that I may not know, I want to know.
And dude,
I need a full arsenal.
Sex is so powerful. You can take a relationship of a year and stretch it out 6 years, right? You could take a marriage and stretch it out to a lifetime, right? I think a lot of people tend to minimize how powerful sex is, right? And this is why I'm really saying like this benefits everybody. You could be a pastor, anybody could benefit from this. And if you're too worried about maybe looking weird, you end up having worse outcomes in life because you don't apply things which can actually benefit you.
And I think the idea of thinking that you look weird or being embarrassed, I think that is also an underlying problem of the problem, Like, I mean,
true.
It kind of spans the whole way. So yeah, I think that you have a great understanding of what everybody goes through, and being able to verbalize that and being able to kind of process this from like beginning to end is very important, and me, myself, I've had these thoughts before and, I've thought about some of the stuff we're talking about, but I never put one foot in front of the other in that matter,
Yes.
And so, like I said, yeah, being able to kind of break it down from beginning to end and kind of digest it in a healthy way and for you to understand, I think it's very important.
I would add that life sucks, honestly.
Right.
We're all gonna die.
Yeah.
Right. I've had the pleasure. I've experienced people dying in front of me, right? Both, according to their will and against their will, you're right. And I've seen kids being born, and life is just a brutal process from the beginning to the end and during, right? life sucks. Let's be honest. Life is tough. Life is tough. And relationships are even tougher because in every relationship ends. And I hate to sound sad or morbid, but everything you know, everything you love is gonna be taken away from you. Right. You only have an infinite amount of time with the things you love, right? And every relationship ends either in death, like one of you die, or in a natural separation where you guys just separate, right? So in the midst of all this chaos and unfulfillment in life, why not have the best pleasure you can with your partner while you have the opportunity? Why not? Why not? What is the opportunity cost you're paying for being embarrassed? What is the opportunity cost you're paying for not living life to the best you can, right? Not what is the opportunity cost about living and being afraid to express yourself as best as you can. And in this case, express yourself sexually as best as you can. The opportunity cost is you having a miserable existence. It's you being in an unfulfilled relationship. And that goes both for men and for women. It is impossible that there's 80% of women who have never experienced an orgasm. Yeah, I mean, how do we get to that point?
Right.
And there's so many men who are in relationships who have massive sexual anxiety. Where is this coming from? Why is porn being consumed at such a huge, crazy rate? Why are OnlyFans models driving these cars? I mean, could we start having these honest conversations and stop the BS? I mean, this is where I come from. I come to it with like, this is a life or death matter to me. We're just skimping around the issue without facing the real issue. And this is what I believe, this conversation, this dialogue about healthy sex habits, this conversation about honesty, expectations, I think this conversation is something which is overdue.
What do you think about open relationships?
Open relationships are, firstly, we live in Houston. I would say 99% of people here in open relationships, they just don't know.
Right. Yeah.
You understand? When you go to Washington Street, you can see firsthand how many open relationships we have.
Yeah.
Right? I'm a good-looking guy. Shout out to God, of course.
I like that.
Right? I've been around other good-looking people who I've seen them have relations with people who are married. Right? Have relations with people who are in long-term fulfilling relationships. I've had girlfriends who have confessed that, they cheated. Cheating is just a fancy word for an open relationship.
Right.
I think it comes back down to honesty, but let's be honest, we don't like honesty, right? I think, and my opinion about open relationships are, it takes a lot of courage to approach open relationships, right? And now, do I agree with open relationships? I think for most people, it's the best solution to their problems because most people want the idea of intimacy, the idea of good sex, but they don't also want to deal with the idea of permanence. Right?
Yeah.
They don't want to deal with the idea of toxicity, which comes in when you're locked in with somebody forever.
Yeah, I completely agree with you.
So the open relationship is a solution to this problem, but it also comes with the ego. The ego is the next thing. Like I told you, all these issues are human problems because when you actually delve down into it, you start realizing like, okay, I have feelings of being with another woman. And women have these feelings of being with other men too.
Sure.
Right? Now, what is a better solution? I tell my girlfriend that, hey, let's have an open relationship and we can come to terms about what she expects from this. Because you'd be surprised how willing a lot of people are willing to engage in this. And not just women, men too. Have that honest conversation, have honest expectations. Okay, she is not coming to this house. Or maybe we go to a different country and this happens, right? So which is better as a man? Is it better for you to have that honest conversation and risk losing your relationship, but with the benefit of you being fulfilled and your wife respecting you as somebody who can be honest, or do what everybody does, lie about it, cheat, get caught, and lose everything you've built, lose half your money, lose custody of your kids in case of married people? You make the choice, and people have overwhelmingly chosen to lie about it instead.
Right. And it's crazy because needs need to be met.
And needs will be met.
And and that's the brutal truth, I think. And like you said, not all people want to hear the truth. But yeah, I mean, it's very common, and whether, like you said, whether you know about it or you don't, and I'm sure there's some relationships that don't have that issue, but they may be lacking in other ways, and so, and my thing is, if you get along with somebody and you're able to communicate with this person and things are good, energy's good, and you enjoy spending time together, then it is what it is, and hopefully whatever needs to be worked out can be worked out on paper,
It also takes a lot of humility to be able to confront this, and especially when it comes to something as how can I put it, omnipresent as cheating, right? Where at this point everybody does it, right? So what sense does it make? And this is obviously going to be a very strong emotion, a very strong opinion, but in society today, in our times now, cheating, we have to demystify cheating. All right, we have to demystify it because so many people are cheating at such a frequent rate. Living life, avoiding that is almost choosing to be by yourself. And in my experience as a human, I would say, okay, you can be right and say, all right, my girl cheated on me, I'm done with her. All women ain't shit, right?
Right.
Or you can come to a sort of agreement where you can live with that and have different measures in place on how the relationship moves forward. You can be in a fulfilling relationship with somebody who cheats on you, right? If you have an honest conversation and you redefine the terms of the relationship, it can absolutely work. And I've seen people we get to be so enamored with the past, enamored with relationships from the past, enamored with the fact that relationships lasted longer. How do you think all this relationship lasted so long? You think there wasn't infidelity? You think infidelity started in this era? It's been since the time of Moses. In the 10 Commandments, we have 2 commandments against sexual immorality. Men, women, humans have struggled with this since the beginning of time. So this is not a new deal. So I think a lot of people need to stop being too emotional about it.
Sure.
And actually see this like a human issue.
And it is a human issue, though. Like I think that most people like to throw it out the window and not think about it. But I think stepping up to the plate and being honest with yourself is the key.
Yeah.
And there's been relationships that I've been in, and it's we don't have to dive too deep into it. When you are locked in, quote unquote locked in with somebody, and there's not any other options, your mind starts thinking of other options.
Yes,
and it's a scary animal-like instinct, and along with a lot of other things like confidence and everything. It all plays a part.
I've had a girlfriend who complained to me like, hey, this guy's talking to me in a grocery store. When I go somewhere, this guy's saying hi. I'm like, you damn right. I want men to hit on my girl.
Yeah.
Right? I want her to still feel as
wanted
as possible. That is healthy for a psyche. Because there's times when you fail to make your partner feel appreciated. And that is due to no fault of yours. Life gets busy. We get, sometimes, a lot of times we take our partners, for granted. I mean, Jay-Z did it, right? That's a guy who has, quote unquote, the most beautiful wife in the world, right? We all need, this is something which is needed for us to function properly as humans. So there's certain honest conversations you have to have with yourself. Like I told her, it's okay, man. This, if these guys are hitting on you, I have confidence that you're still doing what you're doing to still keep yourself sexy. Honestly, right? So these are things like there was a time when I had this certain girl, and she and I would walk around in the store and look at people together. We look at people together and be like, oh yeah, that looks good. We'll keep walking. Oh, that person looks good. We'll keep walking. And due to us sharing that, we kept a good bond together, a strong bond in a relationship. Because we know, as much as we are together, we're still separate people with those same emotions, and we acknowledge that we still have the weakness of the flesh, which most people just don't want to. And I think it hurts relationship more than it helps the relationships.
So, do you prefer a woman tell you and reorganize the terms of the relationship, or
I always start with a disclaimer in the beginning of all my relationships. Like, firstly, I'm not perfect. I do have the illusion of perfection outside because I'm properly groomed, I speak well, and I treat people really well. I call myself a people pleaser. I'm a people pleaser. I love giving people pleasure.
Right.
Because to me, that's what life is about. Life sucks already. I don't want to make anybody's life harder than it needs to be. Right? So when I have an honest conversation with a woman, I know you have things which you deal with on an emotional level, which I'm going to have to deal with. For example, you've been a little bit more irrational on your period. I have to deal with that, right? You being a little bit insecure, me having to constantly give you validation, I have to deal with that, right? There's many things which you have, which I hate, I really don't like, but I will do it because I care about you and I want to see you as balanced as possible so you can add to my life. But I also have this discrepancies in my character, which I need you to help me with so we can build together. Now, I'm not a complete loon, right? I'm not sexually indisciplined. I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't have supreme sexual discipline. But there are certain things we have to be honest with each other. The honeymoon phase in my relationships are meant for us to iron out these little issues. It's not for us to live in the fantasy land. So that way the relationship is actually more fulfilling. And my goal has always been that whenever I'm done with every relationship, my exes are like, you know what? That was a great time.
Isn't that great when a relationship does end and you decide to split apart and you could still be just like close friends and understand that you did experience life with that person at one point, you know, and things weren't bad, you know, and I love when things could have a nice clean break, you know, and because sometimes it gets messy.
It does. You know, I've had a couple messy breakups, honestly. But I would tell you it wasn't due to me. I did everything I could to make sure because I understand the human experience. I understand that sometimes, a lot of times, like a woman might need to hate you for her to completely move on from you. So understand the hate she's giving to me is just a symptom of the pain and the grief she felt for the love she once had for me. So I'm completely forgiven in that situation, and I understand her, and I don't take it personally, and I move on with a good conscience.
That was biblical right there.
Amen. So, because I told you, I'm a human. I've dealt with these issues. I've told a girl I liked her, and she told me, oh, okay. And she didn't reciprocate, and I felt hurt. And for me to move on, I had to almost diss her. I've been there. It takes growth to see the same things you've struggled with in other people and to be empathetic.
Wow. And I had a thought in my mind, but man, you just vanished all my thoughts with this amazing advice. I mean, you have a really, really great insight.
Thank you.
What makes a successful relationship?
The first thing is, and I actually had this conversation with a random dude in the gym yesterday. The first thing is appropriate and honest expectations, right? You have to understand that you're not going to be in a Disney fantasy. We're not going to be kissing each other's foreheads every day forever. I start by telling my partners, and you got to start by telling your partners, you have to understand that this relationship is going to end in pain, regardless of how you break it down, the pain of death or the pain of separation. It's going to end. So when you understand how the end is going to be, then you can be comfortable in getting to that end without having any animosity. That's the first thing you need to start. You start back moving in. Next is you have to be honest about what you expect from a partner. And understand this is the hardest part about relationships because being honest makes you vulnerable. And being vulnerable makes you, liable to be taken advantage of by somebody who might not see the same things which you want. They might want different things. For example, a woman might tell you she likes you because she wants to get a ride home every day, because she wants to, take money off you. Or a guy might tell you he loves you because he wants to have sex with you. So that's a challenge when it comes to relationships because we are scared about being intimate, number one. Number two, we are insincere about our intentions because we feel vulnerable because of our past experiences. So the first thing before even communicating your intentions and your expectations is you have to be honest with yourself about what you want. And you have to forgive yourself for making mistakes from the past.
Yeah,
You have to
I think that's big.
You have to forgive your partners who hurt you. right? I had an ex who told me she's never going to buy me a shoe again because she bought some guy some shoes and they walked out of her life, sorry. She bought her ex shoes and her ex walked out of her life, right? I had another ex whom she wouldn't give me compliments because she felt like it would make my head big and I would have a huge ego and I would walk away. So we started that relationship as a continuation of the past relationship she was in, right? So that is something which you don't want to do. When you're starting a new relationship, you have to start it almost at fresh. I know it's tough, but you have to start it at fresh, especially a relationship because relationships do affect you. It's almost like getting spiritual HIV, right? Or emotional herpes, right? You might just mess with somebody thinking you're just messing around, but after you're done with that situation, you feel sick, right? So you have to make sure you're constantly vetting your mind to make sure your mind is in an appropriate step. And if you know you're just going to have a one night stand with somebody, or if you're just going to be bang buddies or sex with benefits, you have an appropriate conversation or you have honest intentions, especially for you yourself. So what makes a good relationship? Honest expectations, and honest expectations is the word I would use, both for yourself and for your partner.
So how are you staying up to date with like the latest research and all this? I mean, and I know this is like human emotion and interaction, things like that, but you also are up to date on the trends in sexual health and things like that. So
I think this is okay. I'm on TikTok. I mean, how else can I put it? TikTok is definitely, please don't ban TikTok. Not yet, on TikTok, you can kind of get trends. I also follow some industry leaders. I'm also a student of the game. I learn from people. Like I told you, I would go out on the street and talk to people. I still do that. I just don't have a camera, right? And I'm always asking questions, and that's how I just kind of stay in loop with the trends. Yeah.
I think you're doing an excellent job. So what role does mental health play in that aspect?
Mental health is the foundation of every psychosocial issue we face, every psychosocial issue we face. Every issue has mental health, because just like I'm wearing these glasses, if I wore red glasses, all of a sudden this paper is red, right? If I wore green glasses, this paper is green. If every woman I've been with has taken my money and taken advantage of me, every woman I see I'm going to see in that light.
Sure.
Right? So the whole perception which we have of dating nowadays is almost like an echo chamber, because I've been in the churching scene. I've been dating in church, and it's completely different than dating in the street life, right? So your mental health it's like a glasses to your eyes, gives you a perspective. Now, this perspective is how I'm going to see the world. We know this every day. If you drive a Tesla, what do you see on the streets? Teslas, right? So you almost have to be very, very very intentional with how you structure your mental health, so you can properly assess and get what you need out of life.
I think that you and people like yourself are important for the general public, because I'm representing just the general public in this sense.
Oh yeah.
Because I think that there's a lot to learn, and like you said, you're a student of the game, and you're not just saying that, but you're that's what you're representing today.
Yeah.
And it's very important that people understand that their current health and their ability to become healthier and to grow and mature and become the best versions of themselves, it's all connected. It's all connected with everything we're saying.
I'm a very cut the BS type of guy. Just give me what I need. When I'm watching a video on YouTube, I don't care about, hey guys, this is this, welcome back to the channel. Just tell me, hey, put this in, put this out, boom.
Let's roll, yeah.
Let's roll,
I
right?
like it.
So every problem I face from like, okay, what do you want? Just tell me what you want. I don't care about you losing 20 pounds a week. I don't care about this. I don't care about you driving a Bentley. What do you want? All right. Hey, my name is this. I want to lose 30 pounds, and I want to work this job and get this money. The honest truth is, hey, my name is this. I want my wife to respect me again. So let's get out the car. You don't need the car. All right. You don't need the 6-figure job. You don't need, and actually this makes me think about dating. This whole dating about the whole 6 foot, 6-pack thing, 6 figures thing. These are what we call markers of eligibility. So women dating nowadays are looking for these markers so they can tell, like, this person is gonna be the person whom I can open up to sexually. But all these things are just markers. Because let's be honest, meeting a guy who's 6 foot, 6-pack and all that, and a guy who's rich doesn't mean much, because he might not be generous.
Right.
Being rich and being generous are two different things, right? Just like, every guy has probably experienced where you got a baddie and she was trash in bed and she made you feel like shit. Right? So all these things are just markers, but we get so caught up on the markers that we fail to develop what actually keeps people in long term. So that is the main thing which I believe we should be working on. Like I said, let's get the BS, let's get right to what you want, and then we make a path towards that.
Right. What do you think about dating apps?
Dating apps are great. Honestly, they're great. Because, and I know dating apps get a lot of, they get blasted online for them being like fast food.
There's a lot of people on them though.
But dating apps are like a knife. Or like fire. Fire is a better example. You can use fire for heat. You can use fire for light. You could also use fire to burn stuff down. So dating apps is based on how you use it, right? Now, if you use it appropriately, you get decent outcomes from that, and it helps you be able to go through a lot of people in a short amount of time, especially in a busy world. You're always working, right? Now, people are going to misuse dating apps 100%.
You're talking about like abusing the ability to reach different people.
To reach different people, right? It's kind of analogous to that. I don't know if you've seen the dating show game called Pop the Balloon. Oh man, that game is treacherous. It's a game where you have a group of people lined up. They could be men or women. Let's say men, you have 10 men lined up, and you have a woman comes through, and if the guys don't like her, they pop their balloons. It's crazy.
Oh yeah,
you have to have seen that. It's everywhere now, right?
Yeah,
that's literally what dating apps is, just personified. Right. So you can abuse that, or you could actually use that. I actually have a good friend who they're going to be getting married sometime next year. They met on dating app, right?
Wow.
I have many of those stories. So at the end of the day, it's what you use it for and how you use it.
Yeah. So what advice would you give me? I'm a single man living in Houston, Texas.
Firstly, I would tell you this. I had the opportunity. Firstly, I would say my first language is French.
Is it?
Yes.
What?
And puedo hablar en español. Okay. Francés y español están similares. Hay muchas palabras que están lo mismo, casi lo mismo. Y puedo hablar en español. I went to Peru for about 6 months in 2018, and my life changed. Right? And this is coming to the advice for you. My life changed in that I realized, I'm Superman. The way I was treated over there, actually, I was treated like a king, man. I was treated like a king.
How so?
Like, just having my skin, they were like, wow, moreno. Right? People treated me with respect. People treated me like I was somebody worth loving, right? Whereas the dating scene here is just like fast food, where people just, okay, whatever, you got to pay for my day, pay for my nails, blah, blah, blah. Over there, it's a community-based style where there's actually family involved. There's actually community involved, So it made me realize something like, okay, it wasn't something wrong with me. It's something wrong with the environment. So environment is very important when you're orienting yourself in life, right? And the first thing you have to realize is you're a winner. You're a winner. You have a great place, right? You're in good health, right? You're financially stable to be able to afford this, so you can go somewhere. In any time in history, you're a 1%er. In any time in history, you're getting the outcomes which you want. Now, you might not feel that way now because you're in an environment where if you're not 6 foot, you're not worshipped, or if you have a 6-pack, or if you have a Lambo out there. But in the grand scheme of things, if you look with a wider view on how Earth actually is, you're a winner.
Right.
And when you realize you're a winner, you start acting like one. When you want to succeed, when you're a success, you act successfully, right? So the first thing I would tell you to have a successful dating life is to act like a winner you are. Right? Open up your eyes and see yourself who you really are. You're not whoever people are going to tell you like, hey, if you're not this, you're not this. If you're a real man, you got to have Dom Perignon in your fridge. You're not all those superficial terms which don't mean much.
Right.
You're a winner. Now, when you're a winner, you start hanging around winners. You start hanging around places which are in line with your value system, places which are in line with your outcomes. So if you want, for example, a woman who is religious, family-oriented, you go to a church scene to try to find that, right? I have a lot of people go to, I don't know, the Fresh and Fit podcast, right? I have a lot of men watch Fresh and Fit and then they get mad like, oh my God, all women nowadays and shit, man, all of them us. I mean, look at the pond in which you're fishing.
Right.
Let's be honest. Let's be accountable now.
Ooh.
Let's set a goal and go towards that, right? So orient yourself put yourself in a position which you're meeting the kind of people you want to be with as much as possible, as often. So that might mean, for example, picking up hobbies which are a little bit popular, picking up things like, for example, right now, how do you call that? The little
pickleball.
Pickleball right now is the rage, man. You might have to buy a little paddle from Ross, right? And go play some
Ross.
pickleball.
Yeah, hey,
it
I like
gives
that.
you the opportunity to meet a lot more people. It gives you the opportunity to be socially fluent, which is the most important thing in society now is being socially fluent. Now, when you're in that situation where you're around people all the time, it just gets easier for you to find a dating partner, easier for you to find good friends, easier for you to have good experiences out of life. So put yourself in those situations which I understand you might be uncomfortable with, and success is going to come surely. But you putting yourself in that situation is you understanding like, hey, I'm a successful person. And I'll put it to you this way, right? I guess this is the game which has helped me out, right? There's two versions of me inside, right? There's me and there's Romeo. Whenever I see a girl, and I always think to myself, what will Romeo do, right? You never compare to yourself to the greats in the world. You compare yourself to you, to your highest potential. Okay, I know I'm going to lose this job, but Romeo is going to apply for this job anyways. Right? And hopefully the viewers can see this at home, but and this is some physics stuff. I'm sure you can relate, but if you look at the world from a two-dimensional perspective, if you look at the Earth, if you look at the sun, this is the sun ray and all the 9 planets, what do you notice? You notice the 9 planets are orbiting the sun in a circular fashion, right? But if you look at this same diagram from a 4-dimensional perspective, you see that this is not a circle. This is actually a spiral, right? You can see the spiral. So your perspective on things are going to change completely how you act in those things, right? So instead of looking at life from the top down, you get to actually examine it completely. Oh my goodness. I don't have to date Justin Houston. I could take a plane, which is like a time travel, and I could be in Mexico tomorrow. I could be in the Philippines tomorrow. I could be anywhere tomorrow. And I could say express myself, right? I could move to this state. Having the flexibility and the perception is going to change your life. So one more thing. The first thing I'm going to say is be honest with yourself. Second thing, understand you're a winner and act like one. Third thing, understand losing. Losing happens a lot as a winner.
Yeah.
Losing is something which you're going to have to be comfortable with. I've lost a lot in my life. I've lost a lot. But I probably look at the greats of the world. LeBron, how many baskets has LeBron missed? You think anybody cares about that? No. So be comfortable with taking losses. That is financial losses, sexual losses. You might have to take some of those losses. And every winner has lost. The best winners have lost more than the worst losers, right? So be honest, be a winner, get comfortable with losing. Number 4 is just have a proper orientation in life. Look at life for what it is, not for what it seems to be. What it is, be honest.
Right.
And it's gonna suck. Maybe you just ain't shit.
Right.
Maybe you're just lazy.
Yeah, that's a big one. I think it's common these days.
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's not the women's fault. Maybe it's not the fault of your height. Because there's 4'9" Asian guys slaying like crazy.
Yeah,
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And don't make excuses because you're Asian. Just learn and adapt. So
Right.
stop crying. Okay? Stop feeling sad for yourself. And I hate to say this, but man up.
Yeah.
Man up means taking life by the testicles. You have a limited amount of time to live here. So go out swinging. The worst that could happen is you just die swinging. But if you swing hard enough, you're going to get the outcomes which you want.
Oh, Yeah, I think the art of following your dreams is very big, and no matter by any means necessary. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So whatever your dreams may be, as long as you're actively approaching them and approaching every day with the idea that I will get there, you know, and making baby steps.
I think
you
the
know?
biggest step which separates, you know, I think you from most people is gonna come down to delayed gratification. That's what, if you can summarize all this,
Right.
delayed gratification. That's the main thing in life. That's the thing which, if you master, man, you can get anything.
Yeah, and in that an art itself, you know.
Yes. Putting baby steps every day. You know, I'm in the gym and there's this cute girl in the gym and I'll be like, man, you should go talk to her. It's like, oh my goodness, bro. Man, look at me, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Right. So you think about, okay, if I don't do this now, me in the future is going to suffer. So you need to act like that. Act like your alter ego would. And you would eventually get it.
Right. How do you approach a girl in the gym?
I mean, firstly, I'm a good-looking guy, so my advice might not apply to a lot of people. Right. Secondly, I've approached a lot of women in the gym, so I have the confidence to be able to do so. I have the nuance. I understand body language. I understand interpersonal space. I'm an expert in interpersonal space. I understand physical touch. So there's so many nuances which I have which you might not have. So if I tell you like, hey, go over there and say this, you might say the same things I'm saying, but you're not tilting your neck, right? You're not pointing, you're not looking at her forehead, you're looking at her tits, right? And I can give a girl like, wow, you have a great ass. And she would take the compliment. She would take it from me as a compliment. You know, the old trope of saying like, if you're good looking, is a compliment. If you're bad looking, it's sexual harassment, right? But I would say the main thing about approaching a girl in the gym is approaching a girl like a human being,
right? Yeah,
right. Women are just humans. Women take shits, right? Women fart as well. They have a period every month, for crying out loud, right?
Sometimes
so
more.
The first thing when you see a woman in the gym is you have to take her off a pedestal,
right? Yeah.
Take her off a pedestal, see her as a regular human, number one. Number two, prepare yourself for the worst case scenario. And the worst case scenario, it's happened to me too, it's like, ew, get away from me, right? And it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So prepare yourself for that scenario. And just walk over there and just say whatever. You don't have to say anything. You could just go and be like, oh my goodness, I just don't know what to say. Whatever. After the fifth, but side note, maybe go to a different gym, get a day, because there's gonna be some social consequences if you get blasted in your gym like that, right?
Yes.
So approach and just say whatever. It doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong thing to say. Say whatever, and you'll be surprised. You'll be really surprised.
Yeah, I think when you approach people, just in general, like humans, and I think it's respectable. You know,
everyone deals with the idea that you're gonna die. Everybody's insecure.
Right.
So there's no need to make your life any harder. She's already insecure. You're insecure. You might as well do it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think taking that leap, you know, just doing it is the key. So what trends do you see emerging in the men's fitness and sexual health in the future?
In the future?
Yeah.
I think we're going to move away from this whole idea of being jacked, because being jacked is kind of saturated right now, especially with the ubiquitous use of steroids. I think we're going to get to the point where we're more focused on a holistic health, right? Because that's how trends usually happen. We usually go through, like, if you think about back in the days when we all had like flared pants, then we went to skinny jeans, now back to flared pants. Right. So eventually we're going to return back to the holistic health side of things. So we're going to be more focused on running, like you see already happening now.
Yeah, lots of running
clubs
here in Houston.
Popping off, yep. So we're going to get back to the holistic aspect, especially considering the fact that women who are the consumers of men in a certain way, a lot of women don't really care about guys being too jacked. And most guys are realizing that in the gym, like, oh my God, I have a six-pack, but I can't get a girl, right? So eventually things are going to go back towards a holistic side about health and training.
And see, that's what I specialize in. I love to run, man.
Oscar is...
Yeah, that boy's been putting in work.
Dude, whenever he mentions running to me, I find an excuse. And we'll get to 3 miles and he's like, yo, bro, you got to do 3 more miles. And I'm like, dude, I would die here.
Man, I definitely want to go with him. I know he's been he's been staying pretty consistent on it,
Yeah.
and 6 miles is
6 miles is easy for him. He could do 12 if I don't hold him back.
right. I
Yeah,
know.
he's impressive. for
Yeah,
that.
he's another type of beast right there.
Yeah.
And then he cracks me up because he'll go get pizza after. I'm like, man, I
He's-
can't I can't do that. I'm like, man, it's either one or the other for me. It's like I'm either gonna eat good,
Yeah.
or I need to or eat good and work out,
Yeah.
or I'm gonna eat pizza. I guess that's probably a bad thing, but
Yeah.
But yeah, man, he's definitely shout out to Oscar by the way, because he is
100%.
he's such a good
he's a
good
guy.
friend. Yeah.
He's an asset to have in your life. Like,
Yeah, he is.
If you don't have somebody like Oscar in your life, man, he's a guy-
Honestly, I always tell him I need a little Oscar on my shoulder.
man,
Yeah.
he has gotten me so many opportunities in life. He's given me so much advice, right? So many times I've been in shambles. He's been there for me. You know, I'm really grateful for having someone like that close to me. You know, I'm really fortunate, and I thank God every day for that.
Honestly, yeah, we worked together, and
Yeah.
it was such a meant to be thing that we ran across, you know, because now we're great friends, and and man, if he called me for anything, you know, I would definitely be
I
there.
call him my brother. I call him my dad. I call him my attorney. He's everything for me. Honestly.
Yeah, exactly. Man, it's definitely good to keep good people in your life, and I think that's what we were talking about earlier. You know, you're around winners. You know, you become a winner.
And I would say this: the society has become what it is today due to the falling apart of community. Community solves all these problems. Community solves the problem of depression, which a lot of guys are going through because it gives you purpose.
Right.
Community solves the problem of dating because there's always people available in the community's pool where you can pick from.
Right.
Community solves the issue of loneliness. Community solves the issue of alienation. Community solves the issue of poverty because there's always people you can count on, people you can rent together with. Community is the main reason for the dystopia we live in today. Right. So if you want to solve all these issues without having to individually analyze, like your financial aspects, the emotional aspects, you can simply find a way to be a part of a strong community, and that would solve 90% of your problems, honestly.
Man, yeah, there's no question as to why you have a successful social media page and why you have a successful outlook on life.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you're really an impressive cat, man. I mean,
thanks, I
you have great morals and ideas, and I feel like you have the ability to kind of lay something out and look at the full aspect of these things.
Yes.
So as far as the future, what goals and aspirations do you have for your platform?
So my platform is something which is dear to me. It's like my baby, and my goal for my platform is to be able to go on a show like Dr. Phil, go on the Good Morning Show, and it not be stigmatized.
Right.
I need to make. My goal is to make this more digestible to the average consumer. So, sex education is something which is it's not stigmatized. Where like, hey mom, my dick got hard for the first time ever. You know, what do I do? And your mom is like, you know what? Go to YouTube and look up Fitness Virgins. He has information which can guide you through the process. So my goal is, and in the highest level, maybe even implement this into curriculum, because sex crimes are one of the main causes of just disturbance in young kids growing up. Because young men growing up, and I actually worked as a correctional officer a long time ago for a day.
I quit. I wouldn't step out of line.
I stepped in and I quit. Right?
Yeah, it gets brutal in those prisons.
But most men in prison are there due to either there's always a woman involved in the picture. They're trying to get money to impress a woman. They're trying to be violent to impress a woman in some sort, right? It's a lot of things are so centered around a failure to understand your sexual self and to be emotionally sound. Where I believe if this is some kind of curriculum in school, or if this is something which is widely taught and accepted, society will be in a much better place. So I want to be more mainstream with my ideas, with the teaching, so more men are comfortable expressing themselves, not just in their communities, but with their partners as well.
Right.
So they have better relationships, which are the foundation of a good community.
Wow. Man, I could totally see that. I could totally see you being the go-to guy. I mean, because you have that knowledge, you have that leadership that's involved and required to achieve that. And yeah, man, I'm fully with you. I think that you have great things in your future, because
Thank you.
and the thing is, you're attacking these topics which nobody wants to attack. Nobody
Yeah.
nobody wants to talk about. And for example, having somebody's mom kind of divert them to you to learn about themselves and things that they don't know about. And yeah, I think it takes good leadership. And like I said, yeah, you definitely have that thing. So I'm excited to see your story and how the future lays out for you, because like I said, it's the options are endless. So but yeah, if you could give one piece of advice to somebody looking to improve their sexual health and well-being, what would it be?
Well, subscribe to Fitness Virgins. I have a platform. I'm on every platform. I'm on X. I'm on Threads. I'm on TikTok. I'm everywhere. Right. So subscribe and join me for the journey. And you don't have to pay anything, right? You don't even have to use a real account if you're uncomfortable with that. I have. And just join me for the journey. Right. It's gonna be it's a lifetime journey. Yeah.
Wow. Well, you definitely piqued my interest, and I definitely want to explore your page and see what there is that I can learn from you as well.
Yeah.
And I was about to cut it off, but actually, one last thing that I would like to talk about is, what supplements and things would you suggest for people to incorporate in their diets for better health?
Before you start with supplements, you have to have me, I'm always a little deeper than,
sure,
right?
Yeah.
You have to understand that you probably have inadequate sleep, right? You're stressing yourself more than you should, right? And more than you should, I mean by saying, okay, what is the main thing about stress control? Understanding that.
Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. You're fine. It's a good visual aid to those who are going to watch this. You have to have a proper. Oh, hello. Okay, just for the viewers.
Yeah. It's
a little commercial break
for the viewers,
right?
Shout out to Larry.
Hey, Larry.
And speaking of, that's a ladies' man right there.
Oh man, you know what? Just get one of these. Just get Larry.
Exactly. I know, and man, there's so many people that love him so much.
Oh yeah, Larry's so cute. Larry, stay tuned. Let me take a picture of you.
Yeah. Anytime you need to use him for your video
I was
props.
like, can I rent him? Walk around in the park,
No, free of charge. You maybe just give him a couple little pieces of bacon or something.
So before you start with supplements, you have to analyze your life, make sure you're at the point where you need supplements. Like I'm not a huge fan of supplements. Like you can see on my page, I talk about eating healthy, using natural things, which you can buy at the grocery store anyways. You don't need any supplements if you live your life right. So the first thing is you have to reduce your cortisol levels, meaning your stress levels. And the easiest way to reduce stress levels is just saying it is what it is. There's so many things you can't control, right? Your car just stops on the road. Instead of losing it, just relax.
Right.
Relax. Losing it makes things worse. And when you stress yourself, there's a study I looked on my phone. It's like 30 minutes of anger takes you like the whole day to bring your levels back down. And when your levels of cortisol are high, you can't sleep properly. You don't digest food properly. So learning how to reduce your stress is the first thing you need to master. Second is adequate sleep. Third is controlling how much time you spend on your phone in terms of like the blue light and the addiction you get from that, right? Then we could start talking about supplements now. And before we even get there, it's not about what you should eat, but what you shouldn't eat, right?
Yeah.
Reduce your sugar consumption, reduce your salt consumption. I mean, these are things we can all do. I'm not saying stop. I'm not one of those people. Right. Instead of drinking 6 Cokes, maybe drink 5.5. Start there. Start in a place where you know it's going to be consistent for you, right? It's about you. Right? And you're not doing this you're doing this so you can be better in the future. You're doing this for you, not for anybody else. Right? Now, in terms of supplements, sexual supplements, I would say Macaroot is a great one. Macaroot is a great supplement. It's an all organic, natural supplement, which people have been taking for decades. It's not something new.
What does that do?
So Macaroot is, man, I'm almost scared to see what Macaroot does because let me just put it to you this way. You're going to be a champion in the bedroom. Your girl is going to be crazy, right? Macaroot is one of the best supplements Oof, macro is amazing.
Really?
Macro is amazing. Yes, macro
You can
is
tell
great.
the difference.
Macro, you can tell the difference after 6 to 8 weeks of consumption. It takes a while to get there, but you will get there, right? And now, like I told you, if you're doing everything proper diet-wise, you wouldn't even need this supplement, right? You wouldn't even need this. And that's why I really don't recommend things like Viagra or Cialis, because these are things which we have in foods, like the rind of a watermelon. You can just blend that, add mango, add apples to it, and you have a delicious meal, which are all on my page. You can check it out. And you can supplement with you can just eat foods. Yeah, I really don't push a lot of supplements, honestly. I had the things like L-arginine, which improves blood flow to the pelvic area. But these are all things which, if you diet properly, you can get. But as far as supplements go, macroroot, L-arginine, and your regular things like creatine. Creatine is great. Creatine has been one of the supplements which has been researched in abundance. Those 3 supplements right there are like my go-to standard.
Wow. Well, Mr. Romeo, you have dropped so much knowledge on us, and it's definitely gonna take me a moment to process. I'll probably have to run this back a couple times just to get my own head screwed on right. But yeah, man, you're really doing some amazing things, and like I said, it's no surprise that you have been successful thus far.
Thank you.
And the future holds great things.
Before we end, I definitely like to give a shout out to my 2 brothers. Sure. Marvin Kiddo and Rambo. Coach Rambo is a good friend of mine. These are actually my brothers, right? They've given me mental clarity in times when I've struggled, and I'm really appreciative for the relationship we have as brothers. So I need to give them a shout out to them.
Sure, man. Isn't it amazing the people that come into your life
I'm so fortunate.
that help you through certain times?
I'm so blessed.
It's amazing.
I'm so blessed.
But yeah, we could definitely save that for another podcast for another day. But like I said, you're making progress, and anytime you want to come back on here and give some advice to the world, then you're more than welcome.
Thanks. I do have a question. Have a question for you.
Absolutely.
A couple questions. Firstly, what is something you can give me a piece of advice which you think is it's something good for me to take along this journey of life?
Well, sir,
because I know you have a unique perspective. I went to your page. I see you speak with a lot of people.
Right.
You're probably a PhD in people.
Yeah.
So if you could kind of shed some knowledge to me, I'd really appreciate that.
Right. Well, you're a tough one because you have so much going for you. From the moment that I saw you down there, I mean, I smelt you before I even saw you. You smelt nice, and you definitely aren't lacking on the physical presentation of yourself and things like that. And you really like friendships and bonds and keeping people around.
Life's about relationships
that kind of show you the importance of friendships and community, and unity also. So I don't really know what I would tell you, except just lean into the ability and your talent to work with people through these difficult conversations. Like I said, it seems like you're doing well at tweaking this little thing that we call life, and setting yourself up for the future. And like I said, just lean into that ability, because it's really incredible.
Thank you. And where do you see this podcast being in like a year, in 5 years? Like,
well, I am glad you asked that.
Yeah.
That's one of the very few questions that I've been asked this week that I truly know the answer to deep down. Okay. But yeah, I started this podcast in a sense where, I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up,
Man.
And so it's like, let me see what everybody else is doing. Let me see what people are dipping their toes in here and over here. And I've talked to a lot of people. This is actually episode 30.
Whoa.
Yeah. So and we just
30
started
long conversations.
30 long conversations, and we just started. This will be week 9.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're on week 9. Where I see this podcast going, I'm hoping to have some collaborations and some sponsorships within the next year.
Okay.
I want a career in this, and I want to see where I fit best. So and Spacejumper, it's like I said, it's 9 weeks old, and so the growth that I've seen over those 9 weeks is incredible. I mean, we've jumped through hoops and we've made a lot of progress over that time. And so in the future, I would just my goals are just to keep on progressing in the field and seeing, like I said, seeing where I sit best.
So, and I got a final question for you.
Sure.
So a lot of people struggle with public speaking.
Right.
Personal speaking too. A lot of people struggle with, come on, let's turn this way. Okay. A lot of people struggle with knowing how to speak without using filler words like
that's tough.
How would you advise somebody to overcome this and be a good speaker like you?
Well, thank you for that. I do use a lot of filler words, unfortunately, and I'm trying to stop.
Yeah.
So that's why I do have an answer for this. Sometimes the best transition into another thought or another word is silence.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that that's probably the key, and a lot of people, Larry, no, sir. He's going over there just chewing on the,
on the,
yeah, but,
sound deadening.
But yeah, so, being able to feel comfortable with silence and to feel okay with forming your next thought rather than forcing a thought is definitely the key.
Okay.
But it's something that I'm working on, and I think a lot of other people are too. But there's only one way up, and that's there's only one way to go, and that's to improve. So I think life is an interesting journey, and it's something that we're all figuring out at the same time, in sync. So yeah.
All right. Awesome.
You got any more questions for me? I'm actually feeling good now.
I'm ready man. Oh wow. Yeah. This is picking up. How would you say, like, what challenges have you faced in dating, especially living in such a big city like this, and you live in the center? You're in the heat. You're where the action is popping. How would you say dating is like in Houston?
I was on the dating apps for a while, and the ladies that would be interested in me, I wasn't interested back. And so I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm going to get a gym membership, and I'm going to start working on my mental health and my ability.
Well, I actually had this conversation with a female friend of mine yesterday, where she's telling me how she's fed up with dating in Houston. She's dissatisfied, and she's a baddie. She's making a lot of money. She's in shape. But as a matter of fact, those things sometimes hold you back from finding a partner who's going to be complementary to your life, right? So the first thing which I noticed, which you said, is accountability. You have to be accountable to yourself, because what happens is when you give people power by saying, "Oh, they aren't this," you give them power, and you take away power from yourself. You impede your ability to actually control your situations. And gladly from this conversation, you can start analyzing and realizing certain things which you may have done, or some things which you didn't do, which contributed to your state here. It's never self-accountability is the thing which is going to make the biggest difference from you. Right. And I guarantee it, tonight or whenever you have time, just sit down by yourself and have an honest assessment, and I guarantee it, you realize certain things which you can do better and other things which you can do less of, which is going to take you towards your goal.
Yeah, I agree. I think that I get caught up in that because, a lot of my initial thoughts is I need to go to the gym, like what we were talking about.
Like everybody, yeah.
Right. And so it's like, man, I need to go to the gym. I need to look better. I need to feel better. But
which helps. Don't get me wrong.
It helps. Yeah. And just from our conversation, I feel like I could definitely, aside from that, maybe make some improvements, because I'm looking for somebody, and I'm not like actively looking. I don't want to say I'm like, but I'm open to relationships and things like that. So, we'll see how it goes. And like I said, I'm a professional. I would say I have a PhD in self-analyzation. That's because, you know, from 10 years ago, oh my God, I was so dumb. I was so dumb.
10 years ago, shit, who wasn't?
And so, you know, I since then, I had some rough thoughts by myself, just trying to figure out what it is and figure out who I am. And you know, over time, we start chiseling away at things, and sooner or later, that big block of stone that we were chiseling away at starts to look like a figure, you know, starts to look like a real, it starts to take shape.
Yes.
So, you know, 10 years from now, who knows where we'll be, you know? And so I think that, yes, it's definitely good to be active and things like that, actively looking for, if you're looking for a relationship, actively looking for a relationship. But in reality, you know, 10 years down the road, you never know what kind of blessings you'll get.
That is true. Yeah. That is true. That is true. I mean, I don't see no reason why you're not successful if you do the proper analysis and if you conduct yourself in a way which gives you. And like I told you, you never have to worry about the whole 6-pack, 6 foot thing, because all these things, and this is my advice for most guys, for every guy out there, these things are just markers. These are markers which women use to determine, like, okay, this is an easier choice. But when you're in the right environment with somebody, when you're immersed culturally with women, you get women who can get a feel for your personality. So if you're a guy out there and you have an issue with your presentation, immerse yourself.
Right. Improve, yeah. It's almost like forced improvement, you know.
You have no choice anyways. I mean, just the nature of life requires you to put in effort. I mean, would you want to, you mentioned earlier that the girls you saw on the dating apps, which happened, you didn't swipe on them because they probably didn't do the work they needed to be at the place which you wanted them to be.
Right.
So everybody puts in work. The women put in work too. So, you know, to live is to work, right? So you, as a man out there, if you're struggling with this, you might have to apply yourself in a certain way. And maybe try not to double down on the things you're already good at because you're good at them. Try to buff up some of your weaknesses.
I like that.
Right?
Yeah.
And I had this issue with some girl. We had this conversation. She's like, you know, I'm sexy, I look good, I'm in the gym all the time. I'm like, maybe being in the gym all the time is what's holding you back. Right? There's something called diminishing returns, where you get so good at something, it gets actually bad for you to keep doing that thing. So you need to explore new things and try new things, and you get different opportunities.
Are you training people at your gym also?
Yes, I train. I have a few clients whom I train. So
very cool. Are you taking on active clients?
Man, in this economy, I am taking on active clients. But I told you my approach about training people is I actually give you the solution you want.
Right.
Because nothing worse than losing weight and still being chronically single. Right. I prepare you for the world. You know, a lot of people also lose weight, but they're still not confident. They still act like who they were before. So my training style is very just like we spoke today, it's a very holistic style of training. And I work with my clients to make sure my clients are best equipped to get what they want out of life with no BS.
Wow, sir. Well, like I said, man, you're really incredible. You got a lot of good things going for you, and you got a lot of good qualities.
Thank you.
To work with. But
Thank you.
But you know, I don't want to hold you too much today.
Oh, yeah.
We're almost 2 hours into it. But Mr. Romeo, you are great. You know, you keep on doing what you're doing.
Thank you very much.
And I'm very excited to see what this road leads you.
Thank you. I am as well. Thank you. Thank you.
All right.